fans, and welcome to another edition of Winning Ways. Laf, good weekend we had.
Yeah, good weekend. Some interesting racing. No group racing, funnily enough, in South Africa this week, but they'll be building up to that. We obviously had group racing in Dubai, and the rest of the world is going through jump seasons, building up to Cheltenham. I think Molly's gone out to sample their wares.
Which he always does.
Which he always does with great aplomb.
Jelly deals and champagne.
Bit of champagne, and Molly will have a bit of the red grape. But he's going to keep us informed, so it's good to have a man on the ground there.
And talking about big racing, obviously building up the Kentucky Derby in America.
Yeah, the Kentucky Derby comes up, and that's always an interesting race. We'll keep people posted in the coming weeks about what's going on there, but I think a lot of action now is starting to build as well towards the big night for the Dubai.
You look very somber this morning. Was it to do with your soccer team last night getting rolled?
An absolute travesty that
Why,
we lost.
was it bad referee?
No, the ref had nothing to do with the ref. A self-destruct button. We pushed the we had them. We had the Scousers under the cosh at 2-1 and hit the post. But listen, good luck to them. They got the points. We got the experience. That's how it goes.
Well, let's go on and give you some experience that you're going to look forward to. We're going to be chatting about a few things later on. We got obviously one of the topics is Ride the Rails, that Australian show. Was it called?
No, Off the Rails.
Off the Rails. We'll be talking about that in current affairs. That was quite interesting. Young Joey had a lot to say, so we'll be chatting about him. We'll also be chatting to Craig Springate. Now, a lot of you might not know who Craig Springate is. Well, he was the doctor for the Sharks. He was the man who looked after the Sharks rugby team. He's a very good GP here in Durban. Loves horses, and he rode in the Mongolian Derby. So we'll be showing you a bit on that. It should be very interesting. But let's go straight into our three to follow.
It's without a doubt the most important thing in the yard. You know, the feed room is your engine room. At the end of the day, what you put into a horse is what you get out. And if you're not putting in enough and you're doing too much work, there's always going to be consequences to that. So you need to feed the best all the time. The game has changed from what it was 10, 15 years ago. The game has evolved. It evolves every day. And you need to keep up with the times. And basically, you know, the food that people are producing now is, in my opinion, without doubt, the best feeds around. I've found that my horses carry good condition. You're able to work them harder, and they definitely seem to recover better, and you're able to race them sooner. So, you know, Mike, I know Mike, I work for Mike, and he always is looking at how to change and evolve. So, you know, I have no doubt that he's put hours of study into the food, and obviously Rencha is a vital part of that, and she's also contributed massively towards what we feed now. And, you know, for me, it's nice to wake up in the morning and know that you've got one less thing to worry about, because as far as I'm concerned, the manger is where it needs to be in my yard.
Right, well, we're going to kick off with big racing at Turfentine, and a couple of first-timers stepped out in a couple of these feature races, these two-year-old feature races. And Leon Erasmus, one of the best trainers of two-year-olds you'll ever see, he gets them out and gets them running. And we picked up the first one of his in the Stormbird Stakes. He won the race with Jimmy Chu, who's very, very useful. We've had him on the show before. When he won his first start, we said, this is useful, and he's more than useful. The one we picked up was the horse that ran third, King Soldier. Let's go and pick him up at the start.
Yeah, we haven't got a circle around him, but just being scrubbed there in the middle of the course. Jimmy Chu is in your purple colours, as quick as anything. That gets rolling, and there's the unraced King Soldier. He's the King of Kings in Ivan Snyman silks. The
red and white.
He's a Lions rugby supporter.
He's under pressure, this horse, already.
Yeah. But showed a lot of speed for his debut run as the horse we found in third. And at this stage, Jimmy Chu's really going hard, trying to stick with him as Pierre Stradham.
American Pie, yeah, that's
American
Var
Pie.
filly.
Yeah.
She comes under pressure quickly. But I was amazed. This guy's now into this two-year-old King Soldier, the King of Kings. And he runs on really nicely, this horse.
Yeah, so does, I think it's Olympic Owen, who runs second, runs a very good race here. Down the inside as well. So these are two good runs, but very, very green as King's Soldier. But Jimmy Chu is very, very quick. He's got the race won a long way out. But the second and third horses, very good runs and very, very green. Ivan Snyman's runner in third.
57.48 for two-year-olds in sticky going. This horse is quick. I think over 5, maybe that, you know, that little sprint they have here, the 600-meter sprint we're building
the dash.
up to? The dash.
We're building up
this
the dash.
Horse would be a runner in
He'd
the
be
dash.
a runner in the
Bloody
dash.
quick, this horse. And
Leon,
he gets out the
Leon
pens
Erasmus
as well.
gets in front. He's a good trainer.
Yeah,
and he
very
has a lot of winners, and he's a good guy.
Yeah,
so
very
well
nice
done.
chap.
Yeah, very nice man, Leon. So he must keep an eye on that dash. This is fast, Jimmy Choo.
And we're sticking with Leon Erasmus. We're going to go and move on and have a look at the Ruffian Stakes listed, which is the next feature race on the card. And we're going for the next Leon Erasmus one, Crown Bearer. Have a look at this one. This runs all over the race course, and to get a little help on it, it will win next time out.
Yeah, let's have a look at this one. Again, we've gone for Leon Erasmus, Ivan Snyman horse. In the, as I say, he loves the Lions rugby team. They're in a nice league at the moment. But this is its first run. It's at the gates and gone.
Like a flash. By Dynasty, out of a Wool Farm there, Gary Player bred it. It's in front.
Yeah, it's got them cold. Going through the junction, you can see the red and white silks, predominantly white, being pushed along.
But then it runs around like a drunken sailor, this horse thing. You know, it just needs a little bit of help, and it really, it would have just about won this race.
I think it runs away from the grandstand too. It changes leads there, but everything's off the bit now.
Yeah.
And up on the outside, you can see Chris Fanica Silks coming to put in the race, but this horse is still going for it. And the jockey, young Mr. Geilen, asked it to run again, and it starts running in, James. I don't know if it's a grandstand or what. But this is a sparkling debut in the Ruffian Stakes, a listed race. It's your first run. And it's going sideways here, James.
It's going sideways. It ends up getting beaten about
Maybe an inch.
0.2 neck. And really, I think this should have just about won the Ruffian Stakes. You know, I think no, she won the other feature race, that filly King's Temptress, first time out. But this very nearly did a King's Temptress on the team.
Yeah.
It was any price you like.
And about Dynasty?
Paid 15 Rand 90 a place.
So Ivan Snyman's got a few to look forward to, and so is Leon. Well done to them.
Yeah,
There's a third one. We're coming down to Natal. Let's go and look at a bit of action down here. And we had a couple of first-timers winning, but we found a horse who ran third here, drawn 1, and Zara's Legacy.
Yeah, in the red and white colours, Gary Lee's his colours. He's a breeder in the Midlands, and he's bred a couple of nice horses. I bought a nice filly from him that runs.
What's interesting here, James, is the horse in the blue silks that's leading them along is Freddie McCaskill's first runner. Nice to see him. They're training.
Yeah,
and
Crockenstein's colours.
Yes, very fast. Showed a lot of speed in very wet ground, so it wasn't a bad run. It gets tired. The eventual winner is, funny enough, 3 off the left, an unraced horse that wins it, called Red Rosette. The horse we found is down the inside,
About
nearly
2
lost.
lengths behind it.
Yeah. Everyone thought that the horse Sebong, who runs a very good race, 4 off the left in the yellow sleeves, was the horse to beat.
Yeah, but here the race changes completely. Sabong gets to the front and you think, well, it's race over. Behind it in the purple and green colours, Duncan Howell's colours is the winner. And right on the inside and the left is the red and white colours.
Zara's Legacy.
Yeah, and she now starts picking it up, but the winner is just next door to her, quickens up better than her at the death. But this filly's a big, leggy filly, and I think she's quite a nice filly. I think she'll go on and maybe win them a race or two.
Yeah, I saw her. She wasn't beaten far, James. She looked like she was immature.
Very immature. Nice big filly. I think Gary bred her himself, and he's a breeder to have a good look at his horses. But we're going to move on. We've got a lot to chat about. We're going to move on to Blast from the Past. SA Fillies Classic. The winner was Bambina Stripes. Another one for Dennis Stryer. So let's go and have a look at this one.
Eldorado, this is what dreams are made of. She's a superstar.
The years I spent with Uncle Sid, his main object was to make sure that the right stuff was fed in the manger. He was a feed fanatic. Of course, I followed the same pattern. But then when Mike and Rancher and Epol started putting this fantastic feed together, they are doing it so professionally. The thing that I have found is that my horses come out of their races far, far better than ever before. Look, I've fed the best, but since I've moved onto this mix, I see a hell of a difference. I see it as a different class feed, without a doubt.
De Kock Special Mix from Epol, available now.
No, sir. This is the finest fabric money can buy. Done. When you walk out of here, heads will turn. Care for a glass of champagne, sir?
Control Freak in the South African Fillies Classic, Grade 1. 1 million rand. And away they go. From that 1800 meter marker and out well enough was Classic Illusion from an inside jump. Control Freaks on a hard hold. Blue Route on the far side looking to go out there now to pick it up, and Tresco's a length and a half behind those leaders. Katie's Lane is handy. They're going slowly on the leaders. They travel along now down towards that 1400 meter marker. Awesome Beauty is outside of runners. Wingfoot, they 5 lengths off the leader. K Lamy further back in the field. Avenue of Gold is now 7-8 lengths off the leader. Bambino Stripes racing now outside of them. They 9 or 10 lengths from that leader. Then we go further back to Go Indigo runs behind that. Amani is racing there 10-11 lengths from the leader as they continue along their journey now, and I see that Illa Bella is racing at the back end of the field and 10 lengths off the leader. So it's Blue Route in front who leads the way. Awesome Beauty's in the second spot. Control Freak is racing third, 2 lengths off the leader. Katie's Lane behind that, then Classic Illusion, they 4 lengths off the leader, followed by K Lamy who races outside of them, and then we go a length to Avenue of Gold. Further back is Tresco's on the inside, they 9 off the leader. Amani runs behind them, also 10 lengths off the leader, and they homeward bound now with 700 to go. Blue Routes in front. Control Freak in the yellow sleeves and the green cap is on the inside and comes through to pick it up. Then we go to Katie's Lane. K Lamy further back. Awesome Beauty's racing behind those, they 2 or 3 lengths off the leader. Then we go back to Bambino Stripes, she runs further back, and Amani behind that. Control Freak now. K Lamy in the middle is right there as well. K Lamy past the 200. Katie's Lane is there as well. Illa Bella's looking to get going. They 3 lengths off the leader. Katie's Lane, Bambino Stripes is right there. Amani is running on as well now. This is absolutely wide open, and Bambino Stripes on the outside maybe just gets up. With K Lamy there, and between runners was Illa Bella. What a terrific finish.
What a terrific ride. Alec Forbes got caught wide on this one, and he just bided his time, produced her at the right time, and she's done nothing since then.
No, funny enough, she hasn't. Illabella obviously has gone on to be a good horse. I thought Control Freak was going to win if you watch the race.
Yeah.
It cruised to front.
She doesn't stay there fully.
Possibly, yeah. Didn't go the 1800. A couple of nice, but a very close finish, and well done
very
to Dennis.
exciting, and obviously, the end of March is the big day up in Johannesburg.
30th,
That's what's going to be fun. So there'll be some great racing up there, and we're building up towards that. But I think that's a very good filly won it who hasn't gone on, Bambino Stripes. Dennis will get to the bottom of her. I'm sure she'll sort it out. Let's go and have a look at our plum of the week.
Towards the inside by the delegator. Deeper out we got Sebastian, and then comes Eye of the Storm as they enter the final 400. Royal Val on the inside being tackled by Big Cat, who takes over the lead. Behind that we got Sebastian. Then comes Born to Rule. House of Assemblies come under a ride. Deeper out comes Supreme Power into the final 200. It's Big Cat, that's taken the lead and kicked for home. Gone 2-3 lengths clear of Royal Var. And already the jockey's looking over his shoulder as he gears Big Cat down to an easy victory. Born to Rule gets up for second. Ahead of Royal Var in third. House of Assembly, Sebastian in a photo for fourth.
Well, there you go, Big Cat, and he's just been gelded. They've thought a lot of this horse. Stan Ely trains him for the good boys, the crew, that bunch.
Michael James, and they're good lads.
Yeah, and they've been patient. You know, what I love about these guys is the horse is reputed to be good, and they've had problems. Things haven't really gone for them. They stuck with Stan. They gelded him, gelded the horse. The horse came back first time.
Didn't they own Capel with Stan, James? Didn't they own Capel with Stan?
Yeah, Capel, yeah.
He was top horse.
They're great guys.
They're soldiers. They're very good guys.
And, you know, no problem with them. You know,
Mark Fullard's a Liverpool supporter, just for the record, James.
Yeah?
He's a Liverpool supporter, Mark Fullard.
Is that so?
So I don't want to talk to him for a few days.
Okay. Well, we'll keep him out of the picture at the moment, Mark Fullard.
Yeah.
What about James Drew?
Yeah, James and Leon, they
not a Liverpool supporter.
I know, they probably Western Province Rugby or something like that.
Yeah, Harlequins.
They love their sport. They travel around the world watching sport, and well done to them. They're big owners, and they're great owners, and they're good people.
But if you're on Interbet, you could have got 22 to 10 about this horse. And Stan was very bullish before the race. He thought the horse would win. He thought the gelding had done the trick. And Andrew Fortune, just cruising along there.
Lovely rider, isn't he?
Yeah.
Lovely rider.
Yeah,
Let's horses run for him.
Yeah, cool and calm and collected.
That's
good point.
Different division.
We're going to go and have a look at current affairs. We've got the 3 races from overseas, which should be fun, and we'll go through them and chat about whatever else is going on around the world.
Right, welcome to this week's edition of Current Affairs, and as we said earlier, just listed races around the country, but overseas it was Super Saturday, and it looked like some interesting racing. We will run through the races we've got for you, and we'll talk about what we've managed to garner. James, always good building up for the end of the month when we have, roughly 3 weeks' time, we're going to have the World Cup of racing.
Yeah, I think that this is a sort of curtain raiser, you know, and really get out there and have a look and see what's going on. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about Igugu and how she did. We'll watch her race and we'll discuss her later. The first one, obviously, and obviously a listed race as well, but it's of huge importance to South Africa. Shay winning. He won the Golden Horse Casino. He was a top sprinter here. I love the way he came back and won this. I thought it was just fantastic.
What's really good, James, is that he's by a South African stallion, national emblem. He's a South African pedigree, Claverflay stallion. So they've got to be chuffed that their horses can go over and win anywhere in the world. And what a way to win.
Let's go and have a look at Shay winning the Maidan Sprint.
The gates are back and they're racing in the Maidan Sprint, and Shay began well. Invincible Ash and Sila dropping back shortly after the break. Ballista came out very quickly. Russian Rock began well with Secret Asset, Spirit Quartz and Mashua Joe. On the far side, Russian Soul and Silla behind them, followed by Medicean Man, Dandy Boy, and then Shay, Invincible Ash, Vocational Soul Power, My Special Jays, and Red Dabali whipped the field in as they linked with the course proper. 400 metres left to run. Ballista a little more than a length in front of Shay in the slipstream. Russian Rock being ridden along, then Spirits Court, Medicean Man, Moshua Joe and Invincible Ash and Soul Power at the head of the others as Shay commits now on the grandstand rail, and the South African goes for home, says goodbye. Spirits Court battling on, Soul Power coming late, but Shay, the real Shay today. Shay first, Soul Power second, Russian Soul third, then Russian Rock, Spirits Quartz, Shock and Talk, Dandy Boy.
The real Shay today, as Terry Spargo said, and we've always known him to be a super racehorse. When he was here with Jeff Woodruff, he was top draw, and they've got him right. I believe Jeff was over there, as was
Brian Joffe.
Yeah, nice.
Shay hit in his chest at the pull-up. And roll on the Alcaraz Sprint, I think it's called, on Maidan, the big night of Maidan. I don't think Mike's ever won that race.
No,
I think he'd be very keen to win.
be very
and
keen.
I think the way this horse won,
Yeah.
even the Americans must be shaking in their boots.
Yeah, the Americans are big dirt sprinters, but there could be one or two Aussies who come into town. But this was
Please,
very impressive.
Bring them on. Bring them on, those Aussies. And look, Black Caviar at least won't come because she's done her travelling. And she's the,
23 for 23, yeah. But well done to everyone concerned with this horse. It really was a good one. Nice for Michael de Kock. And as you say, it's one big horse we've got going to the big night.
Yeah. And we've got a couple more going to the big night. Let's go and have a look at the Dubai City of Gold, which is always a big race as well. Mike had Await the Dawn running here.
All set. Racing in the Dubai City of Gold, and Treble Jig slow to move. Silvana didn't come out all that quickly. Await the Dawn began well. Cavalryman fast away with Plantagenet and Jackalberry. Silvana now going up behind the pace on the outside of Barano, followed by La Juge, and Treble Jig has gone to the rail at the rear of the field as they make the turn out of the straight, going past the 2100 metres marker. Await the Dawn in front with the brakes on. Cavalryman will oblige. He's sliding around the outside as they crawl to the back of the track. Cavalryman takes over, leads a length and a half to Await the Dawn. Jackalberry is a length away running third. Barano 3/4 of a length away fourth on the rail. 3/4 till Silvana, followed by Plantagenet, who now finds the plastic on the inside of La Juge. And Treble Jig under restraint is 2.5 lengths away, bringing up the rear as Cavalryman takes them down the back. The first 400 metres, the slowest I think I've ever announced. 31.48 for the first 400 metres. 800 metres in 58.78. So they are walking. Cavalryman down the back of the track, a little more than a length in front. Treble Jig and Wayne Smith have had enough. They're whipping around the outside from last where he was pulling his head off, and now they clap on the speed going past the 1200 metres peg. Await the Dawn's 2 lengths away running third, and they've appreciably quickened. A length and a half to Jackalberry on the outside of Barano. A length away then came Silvana, followed by Plantagenet, and 2 lengths away La Juge now moving up on the outside as Treble Jig scoots away. 1200 metres in 1:24.06. Treble Jig has opened up a break of 3 lengths to Cavalryman, 2 lengths to Await the Dawn, 2 to Barano on the inside of Jackalberry, a length and a half Silvana, a length and a half La Juge, and Plantagenet on the rail. Whip them in as they're on the bend with 500 left to travel. Treble Jig about to be tackled again by Cavalryman. Await the Dawn's a length and a half away, waiting to deliver his challenge. Jackalberry goes up on his outside, and they will deliver their threats together. Cavalryman under pressure. Await the Dawn and Jackalberry come at him. Jackalberry on the outside, put his head in front of Await the Dawn. Cavalryman fights back. Jackalberry, Await the Dawn, Cavalryman. Jackalberry just in front. He's a little too good, too classy. Jackalberry. Jackalberry has won from Await the Dawn and Cavalryman. Then Silvana, La Juge.
Well, there is a classic case of, I think, they should have gone with this horse, you know. Await the Dawn, the Parky, Paddy Cosgrave should have gone instead. My opinion, should have gone to
Well, absolutely. I think he got beaten for speed in the straight. And when you heard the commentary, 31 seconds the first 400, 58, which is slower than the sprint, for the first 800, and that's 1,000 metre time.
124
for 7 furlongs. For 6 furlongs.
6 furlongs.
Yeah.
It's a 7 furlong time.
It's a 7 furlong time. So they went really slowly, which I think would have attracted this horse Await the Dawn's full of stamina.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he got beaten.
He should have let this horse roll in front and made it a bit of a test.
Remember, Jackalberry's no slouch. He won the Grand Premio d'Italia, the Roman Derby, I think it's called, the big race in Rome. It's a Group 1. So he's a multiple Group 1 winner, Jackalberry, and he only just beat Await the Dawn. I think Await the Dawn might be a big run in the Shima.
2.5 million for the difference between first and second in rands.
Yeah.
Hell of a front. But there we go. And I think Mark should have had his second winner there. But that's racing. You live with the ups and the downs. You win some, you lose an awful lot. Let's go and look at the last one. And now this obviously had the Apache, who was doing very, very well. It had a stable companion in as well. And we had the famous Igugu.
We had a Gugu and Master of Hounds. Master of Hounds won this race last year. KB Shea rode him. He pinched the race, and I thought it was a triumph for us again, because Apache by Magog, it was a big race on the evening. It was a tremendous run from him. Tremendous.
Scott Brothers bred the Apache. They've got to be thrilled with this run. And Magog throws those big horses, but wasn't to be on the night. Let's go and have a look at the race, and we can discuss it afterwards.
The field looks set. They're often racing in the Jebel Hatter, and they jumped in a great line. Fort Apache out wide, came out very quickly. Master of Hounds began well, and a Gugu fast away, and the three in the yellow were in the van early. The Apache drops back shortly after the break, and Master of Hounds goes to the lead by a little more than a length over a Gugu on the outside of City Style. 3/4 of a length away Sarge Har, and a half length to the Apache. A length to Zain Shamadel on the inside of Sharistan. Then a length and a half to Side Glance on the outside of So Beautiful. And Iguazu Falls is a length and a quarter away at the tail of the field. Master of Hounds had bounded away after leaving a first quarter behind in 25.7. Master of Hounds taking them past the 1,000 metres pole out by 6 lengths. City Style is second. A Gugu a length and a half away running third. Sarjar fourth on the rail. A length to the Apache, then Zain Shamadel, followed by Sharistan, who's 3 deep now. So Beautiful pushes up in the middle, keeps Sharistan there. Side Glance is second last, and Iguazu Falls on the rails. Whip the field in as they come past the 600 metres mark. 800 left behind in 49.1 and 1,200 in 113.8. Master of Hounds into the straight, 4 lengths in front of City Style. A Gugu on the outside, then the Apache, followed by Sarge Har, and Sharistan to the outside as a Gugu looms up. A Gugu out deep, joined by the Apache. City Style in the centre, Master of Hounds on the rail. Sarge Har looking for the way through. The Apache in front. Sarge Har's bursting through on the inside. Sarge Har, the mare on the inside, gone home the best from 200 to 201 in the twinkling of an eye. Sarge Har has beaten the Apache. City Style third.
Well, there we go. Sarge Har's come through to beat the Apache. And James, I heard somewhere through somebody that Gugu got a smack across the face.
It looked like she might have going through about the sort of 400. Jockey on the inside changed his stick across. And she definitely did that, and seemed to lose a stride or two.
She'll be much tighter now, James.
I think I still believe that a World Cup night, wherever Mike runs, is the right race for her.
What do you think the options would be? The Duty Free, maybe?
The Duty Free, Shima Classic, and maybe even the City of Gold. I'm not sure. You know, there'll be a race that he will have earmarked her for, because, you know, I think they were confident, but I'm not sure that she was 100%. The Apache ran a cracking good race. He had the race won right up till the last bit. Was second run after a rest for him. Maybe that caught him. He'll be cherry ripe on World Cup night too.
It was a very good run. And when you work it out, you know, it's the first time Igugu hasn't run in the money, but wasn't beaten that far.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Couple of things that we've got to talk about. You know, just on the Ruffian Stakes, that, you know, this is the Drockenstein segment, and daughter Trippy won the race for the lads. So Trippy, you know,
still
firing with
some very nice Trippies to come out. I've seen a few in a couple of yards that haven't raced, some beautiful Trippies still to step at.
Australian, they have a show called Ride the Rails.
Off the Rails.
Yeah. So they had this. They have a guest or two every show. I think it's a great show.
Me too. I really enjoy it. Very amusing.
Yeah. They're laughing and cracking jokes and having a go. And they had the master of humour, Joey Ramsden, on the show, because he's the biggest tongue-in-cheek merchant I've ever seen.
No.
You know. And they had him on the show because of Black Caviar.
Yeah. And what is this? Just before we carry on, is there a horse in South Africa called Black Caviar?
Yes, there is.
How can they have that?
The Divines called it. It's very interesting. Pat and Henry Divine called it Black Caviar. But remember, there was a big problem with a horse called Divine Jet, which was the top price yearling at the yearling sales, which was named after the Divines, because I think it was spelled Devine, and
Yes.
there was a big problem with the Jockey Club.
Is that a knee-jerk reaction to Divine Jet?
I don't know, but it just as
to me,
as an
we
aside, I
don't
don't
want-
think it's got anything to do with Divine Jet, but it's interesting
Can
that
you imagine if we have a horse in Kimberley coming up, just using Kimberley, called Frankel? It's not right.
Well, yeah,
It's
but
not right. You know, you
the
got
point
to
is
have
that
I believe they're changing the name of
this
this horse, Black Caviar, James. I believe they're changing it.
Well, aside from all of that, okay, we had Joey on the show there. Well, I've never seen anything like it. He slated everyone in South Africa, from Teletrack to his owners to the Snaith
to himself.
Yeah.
I thought, James, when I watched it, I was very amused. He came over very well. He obviously can't get by without a dig. But he's a very amusing man. When he's on song, he's very captivating. And the Aussies enjoyed him because he.
Well, the thing was, you know, you're wondering if he's not sort of applying for a visa to go there. You know, he was sucking up to them big time. And you know, we've had Joey on this show. He never sucked up to us like that. No. Maybe there's a little thing going on. You never know. You know,
he's a guy that I've always got on well with, and I enjoy his humour. You know, some people find him.
You've got to catch him on the right day. You won't get on with him on a bad day.
He's a very sharp tool when it comes to humour and that.
On the right day. Get away from it on a bad day. You don't want to be anywhere near him. Okay.
Yeah. But no, he always has a dig. But James, I concur with him that it's a great show off the rails. It really is. But Joe had a go at him. The Snaiths could paint a zebra white to race it.
Black or white and race it. And then he had some analogy with Mike Tyson eating meat that he just sort of pulled out the air. That was a new one. And,
it was very funny. You know, his stables that he's suing them for are going to be burnt down probably while he's away. That was very funny. And
he's only got 3 horses worth training. You know? Wastes his time with all of that.
Yeah, but he does have a dig at himself.
He had another go at Brian Mayfield Smith. You know, he worked for you. It wasn't
right.
sort of. You know,
well, he said transporting manure or something. He has some very good chirps.
Manure pusher. Right, that's it from us. We're going to be talking to Craig Springate, and don't miss it. Have a good one.
Yep.
Well, as promised, we're going to go into the Mongolian Derby. And for those of you that don't know what the Mongolian Derby is, it's a 1,000-kilometer horse race. And South Africans have been going over there. And a very good friend of ours, racing man, Craig Springate, Dr. Craig Springate, he rode in this race. We got him in the hot seat. But let's go and have a look at the footage so you get an idea and a taste of what it's all about.
This is the bloody toughest horse racing in the world.
We have a real problem. Saddle's gone, horse is gone, What do we do?
And they're incredible horses.
They've got so much juice, these horses. Man. I've been strapped to yet another missile.
Incredible. We rode through forests and rivers today, which is why when I take my boots off, I think I will pour some water out.
A lot of marsh, mud.
Desert. We went through salt pans. We went everything.
We've got to be prepared for anything that happens in the field.
Yeah, there's some feisty ones here.
I lost my GPS in the first hour of this whole race, so I'm dependent on other people for the direction.
It's going to be very, very long days in the saddle.
We've all got chafing in places where you should never chafe.
This is probably the core suffering chapter really of the Derby. You know, they're still not particularly familiar with the horses. They're probably still struggling with all their kit. They've experienced 15 different types of weather and terrain already.
Absolutely broken. These horses have just gone amazingly well. Wonderful, magnificent, a special beast.
We've seen incredible things.
Extraordinary. Fantastic.
It's been an epic adventure.
Well, there you go. This is an epic. And Craig, nice to have you in the studio. And I was fascinated to hear when that you'd gone over to ride this in this race. You've always loved horses in that.
Yeah, always loved horses. Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a wonderful experience and a huge challenge for us on the Derby.
What made you do it? What whet your appetite? Something must have cast a little seed in your brain that said, I'm going to give up being a doctor and checking people for a couple of weeks and go and do this.
I could say I had a death wish. I came across it quite by chance when a friend asked me to sponsor a friend of his who was doing the Derby from the year before. And I looked it up on the net, got quite interested in it. I love horses. And then I sort of approached another friend to say, look, I've got a challenge. We've turned 50. Let's have a go. And that sort of snowballed on from there.
Okay, so how do you go about it?
You enter, there's an entry form on the Derby website, the Adventurists website. This is a company in the UK who produce various adventures around the world. And yeah, it's rated as the longest, toughest horse race in the world, and I thought it was a nice challenge to try and do. So once you've entered, you go through an interview process. You have to list your riding experience and your endurance riding experience in particular. Which, funny enough, I didn't have much of, so I'm quite surprised I was allowed to enter. But I think I convinced them by the fact that we had been in the army and we had done a bit of doozy work, and myself and Simon, and yeah, we made the entry, the final cut, and then you still got to go there and have a riding assessment, which you still, once you've paid your entry fee, you can still be literally thrown off the race if you don't make the riding assessment.
Okay, so you've got to be a pretty competent rider. Well, I would think to complete the race, it must be an epic in itself.
Yeah, James, you have to be a competent. You have to be able to sit a horse. I think that's a basic requirement. But then I think it's about seeing out the distance. That was where most of the riders fell away. A few got injured, and some unfortunately quite seriously injured on the way, just being thrown off horses. And then just seeing out that 9 days in the saddle.
Well, word has it that you rode the last 2 days with the broken ribs. Is that true?
Yes.
And what happened?
Yes, I got thrown off. I made a schoolboy error. We were on top of a mountain and we got lost. When I say we were riding in a team of 3. So I pulled out a map from my pocket, which flapped in the wind, and I obviously hadn't had good control of the reins, and these horses are very, very skittish. So as soon as the wind flapped the map, the horse just turned around on me and bolted like, there was no tomorrow. And before I knew it, I'd sort of gone off the side of the horse down the mountain. My horse ran away, and under normal circumstances, the horse would run back to its herd, which could be 40 kilometers away, which means that you'd have to go back on foot to get it. But fortunately, being on top of a mountain, sort of just ran up the hill. And I had Simon and Heather, who were my partners, to sort of corral it in and then quickly grab the reins while I was lying on the floor. But, we South Africans don't give up, so we had to get on and see it through.
Broken ribs is painful. It's hard to breathe, and I know I've had them, and you've obviously treated lots of people with broken ribs.
Yeah, no, it was very painful. I actually had got quite nauseous at the time. But I think just knowing that you were in the middle of nowhere, it's totally remote, that there wasn't really an option. If you had to get out the race, you had to activate a satellite tracker button. And at that stage, they would sort of send the medical evacuation team in to get us.
Helicopter or something.
Well, whatever was required, whatever. We were in the mountains, so it probably wouldn't have been able to get a chopper in there. Probably would have had to ferry us out horse by horse and then into an ambulance at the bottom. So I knew there was really not much of an option for me. So I just kind of strapped up and carried on.
35 people apparently start the race. How many ended up finishing it?
17 of us finished.
17. And all the South Africans?
All the South Africans finished, yeah.
That's amazing tribute to the strength and depth of our character as South Africans.
We were very proud of it. Finished the race across the line holding a South African flag. Unfortunately, we had a Kiwi coming into our lineup at the end. We couldn't quite ride him off, but he was in that photograph with us.
And Craig, now, is it going to be documented? How are people going to be able to see this?
They're doing a documentary. It's called All the Wild Horses. It's being filmed, well, it's being produced and edited as we speak, and hopefully it'll be released sometime in April. So, there was a film crew on board with us, not part of our team. It was myself, Heather, and Simon as a team. So, they filmed us along the way.
And Heather, isn't she quite a pretty girl?
Yes. Stunningly beautiful, ex-Miss South Africa, who came on as a fantastic partner with Simon Pierce and myself were the original two. And then Simon's very friendly with Heather and got her on board and was really a wonderful team. In fact, Simon also had a bad injury and broke his ribs as well. So we had a kind of two injured people finishing the ride, and Heather was kind of the mother to us towards the end there, and we accepted gratefully.
Well, and it must have been fantastic. She loves racing horses. She's a very good horse rider, and it must have been fantastic having someone there to nurse your ribs and bathe you in the evening.
Absolutely. She was extremely competent in all departments.
Okay. Let's get away from that.
Okay.
Let's talk about how do you eat and drink. You obviously take water bottles, but where do you eat,
Okay, so how the race runs is it's unaided, and you have 5 kilograms to carry with you, and that's weighed at the start, and you can't refill that at any point. So most of the eating was done at the changeover points where we changed horses. These are called gers, and it's where a herder would put his horses on a string for us to choose. And then at the time they would offer us their food, their typical Mongolian hospitality, which was really a mixture of noodle soup, which usually was goat and mutton, and then you had an array of curd and milky tea and sheep yogurt and so on, which wasn't very palatable, but
I suppose after you've ridden all day, you're probably pretty hungry. Did you have to get to one of these points to change horses? How did you decide to stop, or when were the stop points, or what happened there?
Okay, basically you've got to ride from point to point, and these horse stations, or moren urtus as they call them in Mongolian, are 20 or 40 kilometers apart. So I think 25 or 26 miles. And so you change your horse there, and you can't ride before 7 a.m. or after 9 p.m. And so to do the race, you have to kind of do 120 to 140 kilometers a day. So you really got to do 3 stations or 4. During some of the harder going, when we were going over mountains, mountain ranges and that, we would perhaps only get 2 or 2.5. So if you happen to finish your riding time in between stations, you then slept down out in the veld, or if you could find a nomad to take you in, which they did for us, then you stayed with them. And the hospitality was unbelievable. They just embraced us, took our horses, and we bedded down with our sleeping bags on their floor.
And, okay, so you've taken this guy's horse 40 kilometers down the trail. How does he get his horse back?
Well, they tag their horses, and I think either they get ridden back by the current herders, or these guys make their way there. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you fall off, they run back anyway, but then you've got to go back and fetch it, because your saddle's got to come with you.
Okay, now the point is that you get there, there's a line of 10 horses, and you don't speak Mongolian, so you can't get the in from the local herder which one's the best horse. How do you pick one?
Oh, very good question. We always made mistakes in the beginning. The vets helped us a little bit because we had a South African vet or an English-speaking vet with a Mongolian vet. So we kind of learned the ropes from the year before to ask the vets, to ask the Mongolian counterparts which horses were rideable. Anyway, the bottom line was you had to, what we learned is that we took a look at the horses' hooves, and the ones that were squared off we knew were well ridden, and if any horses had scuff marks on them we knew they'd just been ridden. The rest were wild. And every now and again there weren't any that we could find, so it was the luck of the draw, and that's how we fell off. Well, I fell off on the hill, Simon fell off mounting, and a lot of people were thrown off getting on and off the horses. They're quite difficult to mount and dismount.
We saw that in the clip. The guy was headed off in the distance, getting bucked off. Would you do it again?
I don't think so. It was a once-off, James. You know, too unpredictable, too many factors that can go wrong. You know, it's remote, the horses are kind of wild, really hard on the body. I lost 4 kilos on the ride.
You don't seem to have 4 kilos to lose. So.
Well, I'll put it on again, don't worry.
We're gonna just take a little break and then come back and talk to you as Craig Springate. Let's see what Magic Millions has got to offer. There we go. They've had a couple of winners during the week. Commodity Strike, the Riverland-trained flyer, he's done well, and the Flying Machine from Dennis had that. So things are going well for Magic Millions. But back with Craig, a fantastic experience all around, and obviously something that most people would never get close to doing.
Yeah, now that you say it, there was quite an interesting number of prerequisites. One, you had to fund it, which was quite substantial. The entry fee alone was £6,000. Two, there was a weight limit of 85 kilos fully clothed with your riding kit. So you kind of had to come in the low 80s or below to make the weight. And then the logistics to get there, you know. And then they also limit the number of riders because of the number of horses they have available. About 1,000 horses were used in the ride.
Amazing. Now, did you obviously have some help? There's some people who put you guys on the right path. Were you sponsored?
Yes. Also, the entire race is charity driven. So in addition to what you have to fund with your entry fee, you have to raise money for a charity. So we adopted Right to Sight as our charity, and mainly through Simon's connections and influence, and then we went along with friends raising money that way, giving talks.
And the Right to Sight, how do they get money out of it?
I think it was basically a lump sum that Simon got donated, with all of us contributing to it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Craig, let's go back and now talk about you, because you're a Durban boy born and bred. DHS boy, that's against
Absolutely.
you, unfortunately.
Ah, really?
No, you know, we know a couple of these other DHS boys. There's Mickey Goss and Russell Simpson and a couple of those guys. You probably know them all.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great fellas.
And always wanted to be a doctor?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think so. When I say always, I mean probably from my last few years at high school. I think we all started off with being a policeman and a fireman, and then a game ranger, and then common sense prevailed.
Yeah, I've got a son who's a game ranger. He always wanted to be a game ranger. He is a game ranger.
Okay.
Yeah, so some people follow that track. But you're probably best known as being a doctor for the Sharks. You were their doctor for many years.
Yes, I started in the epic 1990 victory against the Blue Bulls. That year, we first Currie Cup victory ever, and then from there on.
Was that Mac? Mac was in charge.
Mac was in charge.
His first big go.
Yeah, it kind of put us all on the map, really, I think. And we've kept in the system every 10 years we have a reunion. So we've had 2, and we're not quite sure whether Mac will be around for 3.
The way I see him playing golf, he'll be around for 3.
Oh, really?
Don't you worry
Okay,
about
well,
him.
that'll be fantastic. Yeah. And then through the 90s, I was really privileged to be involved in a fantastic team, great management team, great players. And obviously we had a number of Currie Cup wins during that time.
You had probably one of the greatest fullbacks that I think ever stepped on a field. Was it Andre Joubert? Was he in your era?
Yes.
The Rolls Royce?
Yes, absolutely.
And now, just, it's very interesting. Racing guys don't know what you guys have to deal with, but we know about injuries with horses, injuries with rugby players.
Yeah, obviously it's a contact sport or a collision sport, so you're going to get major musculoskeletal injuries, you know. And I suppose with racing, I mean, I've done a lot of riding work and I've been around the track a bit, and you know, it's obviously reasonably similar in terms of a fall that you might get and you break a bone or tear a muscle. But I think in rugby the players are a lot. You know, they're tempted to stay on the field more easily because obviously they want to be part of the game, and so it's harder to get them off and to keep them off, and that's the challenge.
Yeah, getting back now, you just mentioned that you wrote a lot of work, and that's where we come into the racing part of it. You did spend a lot of time in your youth writing work. Tell us a bit about it.
I did. It started when I was at UCT. I was a lot lighter than I am now. Just to kind of, I was very interested in horses and riding, and I started working as a handler at Kenilworth and Milnerton courses, and then got to know the jocks, got on a hell of a well with them, and they soon, a lot of them soon...
Who were your mates?
There were guys like Gary Verne, he's late now unfortunately, Garth Puller, Felix was around at the time, Basil Marcus would come down there from time to time from here in the season, and then the Appies were Gerrit Besson and Gerrit Schlechter. And those guys, and Gary was really the one that got me into riding work. He used to ride for a Greek trainer called Alex Sotriadis. Yes. And he said to me, I said, Gary, man, I'd love to jump on one of these horses. And he said, well, come to the stable in the morning. So I went to Milnerton, and we got up, and he showed me the ropes. Il Basson was an apprentice at the time, Gerrit, and then Andrew Fortune as well. So I got to know them all really well, and we're all still quite good mates. And started riding from there, and I used to love it. I'd go out before university 3 or 4 times a week.
And you remember that old sand track at Milnerton? That was where you used to go. It was that deep.
That's
and,
right.
And having now become a doctor, how do we work horses in those type of conditions when you think of it? You know.
Well, I was always very interested in training horses versus training athletes, and found that. I felt that the trainers were lagging a little bit behind in getting their horses to maybe train more scientifically. But you know, it's a different type of world. Do they still have that sand track at Milnerton?
Yeah, it's fascinating you say that, because I've been through this whole cycle. The fit racehorse Tom Ivers was one of my heroes. I went and looked at interval training. I did interval training because I thought we were far behind, you know. And I came to realize very quickly one thing about a racehorse. A racehorse is not a human, and the difference is very simple. Racehorse is bred to run. Humans are not bred to run. They mostly couch potatoes.
Yes.
So to get them to that level of fitness, you've got to put that work into them. Whereas a racehorse, you can take him off the paddock and get him to run, and he'll run pretty close to what he can do after you've given them some training. So they don't need that training. And it doesn't make sense, does it? You know, when you think of this modern day, I know we've spoken to Tim Noakes a lot about it. Your question is a question we've all asked ourselves. But I'm fascinated to hear that you've asked that question. Have you come to any conclusions?
No. You know, I always used to think, because I was the heaviest work rider, I would weigh in around 75 kilos in those days, 73 kilos, and I think I was giving the jocks 20, 25. I still never forget Stan Ellie, just before the Abe Bloomberg handicap. I don't know if that ever still exists.
Yeah, it's still around,
He had a fantastic horse called Jumping Bean, and he had Carl Nesius, and his appy at the time was, what was his name, Alan Levy.
Yeah.
Remember Alan?
Yeah.
And the 3 of us got on, and he said, put me on Jumping Bean, and he said, I want you to go down to 1,000 meters and bowl along, but I want you to sit about a length off them, Craig, and at about 400 I want you to set it alight. That's what he said, set him alight. So I thought, well, that's great, but I don't think I'm going to get there with my weight with these 2 young lightweights, and well, Carl's not that young at the time. Anyway, it was a fantastic little episode for me, and we rode that little stretch beautifully, and it was a great horse. And sadly enough, horse sickness came in, and the race was cancelled.
It was at Milnerton, funny enough, the Abe Bloomberg. That was where it was. It was held there. Now Milnerton as a race course is no longer. Craig, just that fueled your interest, and lately you guys have had a horse called Shark Attack, with you've got a share in.
Yes, Shark Attack being part of the Sharks. Ricky Smith, also Nick Ray. I'm a trustee on the his foundation. Yeah. Nicholas Ray, and it was very interesting little exercise in getting us involved in racing and staying and associating the Sharks with it as a winning brand. Yeah, it's been a bit of a fun ride.
Steeped in horses, no more Mongolian Derby. By the time you bought a couple yourself, I think that that would be the next move. You know?
Well, gee whiz, I don't know if that's a sensible option at this stage.
Craig, you're too sensible. But you know, it's been fantastic chatting to you. Unfortunately, we've got to wrap up. You look after a lot of guys, health-wise, a lot of racing people. They all have stories, don't they?
They all have stories.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to tell it.
Craig Springate, he's ridden in the Mongolian Derby with a couple of other South Africans. It's been fantastic having him here. And as you can see, there are people outside horse racing that we don't know about who are still very interested, and we should keep the flame going. From me, James Goodman, until next week, have a great week's racing.
Interbet gives you a unique perspective on the event you wish to wager on. The trading screen provides a complete status picture, enabling you to make a more informed decision. For example, take a look at the percentage at the top of the back column. The closer the number is to 100%, the higher the overall wagerings become. If you watch this number over time, you will see that it starts off relatively high and drops as the race time draws near, improving the betting position right before the race. To see where the action is taking place, you can see the odds column to see the situation for each horse. Green means that there is more money on the horse and therefore the odds are shortening. Red means that the odds are drifting, and black means that there has been no change. You can use these trends to better anticipate where the market is going and make more informed decisions when placing a bet on request, for example. Remember that as the race time gets closer, there is a chance you will run out of time and that your bet on request will not be confirmed also increases. Wagering on horses requires knowledge and luck, and we are here to help you gain the knowledge and get up-to-date information so you can make far more informed decisions and get an action-packed experience.